We're really excited that you're taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah.
And I'm a longtime
Good
listener.
to be here. Thank you.
That's good. So The Canyon, I'm really stoked about it. The vibe I get from it is that it's raw and it is the used. It's something that I've grown up listening to you guys, and I feel like that album has grown up in a way that I would want you guys to sound. It's something that I personally love to listen to. Now, what kind of have been the best compliments you've received so far on the album and the best feedback that you've gotten on it?
Well, it's very personal, so I think the most incredible feedback has been this overwhelming sense of camaraderie with people I don't even know. So people talk to me like I'm their brother. They tell me things that they wouldn't even tell their best friends. It's about loss, so we get a lot of stories about loss, and I think that's one thing we can all relate to as humans. We'll all lose someone close to us. So
For sure.
yeah, the very close, personal, tragic stories you hear. A girl just the other day lost her father about 2.5 months ago. She said the record has really been there for her the way that I think music was always there for me. So
Good.
that's the point, I think.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, 17 tracks. Is that the biggest album you've released so far?
Yep.
Now, what's going on in your lives that made you so inspired to write that many songs and that you wanted to put it all on this same album?
I lost a good friend about 2 years ago. Struggled with addiction and depression, and so that's what was going on in my life to allow 17 songs.
17 songs. Well, it's good. There's not a bad one on there. So.
Yeah, we had too many demos to kind of edit down, and we were lucky enough to be working with someone who was willing to go the distance.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, the Canyon, what does that symbolize to you?
Well, the Canyon for me is about growing up. I grew up near Provo Canyon, spent most of my happy childhood in the canyon with my family, either campouts or barbecues and cookouts. And then I kind of grew up in the canyon as well. I first smoked weed up there and kind of first realized the power of music and the power of lyrics up in the canyon. It's also where my friend took his life. So it's a whole kind of bigger picture for metaphor. I think that it's incredible to think about what actually creates a canyon is hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years of slow carving from water.
Yeah.
It's hard for humans to think in that time frame of beyond our face.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, how would you describe the feeling that you get when you listen to the Canyon?
To be honest, it's very, very personal, so I don't listen to it.
You don't listen to it?
No.
Okay.
I did when it was coming out, but yeah, it's very close to a lot of things that I'm still healing from. So in that way, I've given it a little bit of a rest.
For sure. Now, what song means the most to you on this album?
I guess it always depends day by day. Mouth of the Canyon is a huge one. The Vortex, a huge one. I think that it's always changing.
Okay. Is there an overall message you're hoping to get across through this?
No, it's just a very personal look at a small situation in my life that I think that everybody can kind of relate back to.
Yeah. Now, like you were saying, there's people who are coming out to you and telling you their life story and feeling like they've really connected with you. I'm someone who grew up listening to you guys, and you guys helped me through some seriously dark shit, some really hard times. And, I think it's safe to say, just listening to what kind of music you guys put out there and what you put in your lyrics, you guys have been through some seriously dark shit yourself. What kind of helps you get through? What do you do to cope? And what would you kind of say to someone going through a really hard time right now?
I think that the type of dark shit that we would go through as like protected individuals in a society where we have food and water, we won't starve, and our problems are really not as serious as some of the serious problems around the world. So that's the first thing I would say is somebody always has it way worse than you do.
Yeah, it's true.
We're not struggling to survive. And in that way, we can kind of take art for what it is. We have time in our lives to kind of obsess over things and let things soak in. But yeah, everybody's problems are, from their own point of view, very serious and very dramatic. And I think that understanding that feelings always change. How I feel right now or how I felt last night will always be different the next day.
For sure.
That's a big part of this record, and getting through troubled times is remembering that the way I'm feeling right now has a purpose.
Yeah. Now, history aside, speaking of the way you're feeling right now, what kind of guy are you now? Who is Bert in 2018? What kind of man are you trying to be? Where do you see yourself? How do you see yourself right now?
I'm the same Bert I've always been. I think that a little bit more cautious about who I involve myself with. Maybe a better writer, maybe a better singer, maybe more responsible than I was in my childlike days.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more respectful and understanding and humble, and maybe a little bit more passionate about music.
Yeah. Now you're a family guy now. You've moved to Australia, right? To be with your family.
Yeah, I've been down there for about 5 years.
And you have a daughter, right?
I have 2 now.
You have 2 daughters.
Yep.
Wow. Now, what do you want? What do you hope that what kind of life do you want them to grow up living?
I think there's a lot of emphasis on individualism nowadays, and I think that that's kind of taking away from the bigger picture of humans in general. And I think that we're all taught to feel like we're entitled to entertainment at every second, and that boredom or loneliness or quiet aren't a very important part of human life, which they are. And I want my daughters to be able to feel comfortably, confidently happy in a world where there's an opportunity to look kind of forward at things that aren't so much involved with what they think we should be thinking about or what they want us to be looking at.
Good. Now that's great. Now with this tour, what should people expect to get out of this when they come see you guys on this tour?
The Used is always a honest, in-your-face rock band. I think that we put our live show on a level of where we put our recorded music is it's everything all at once. We try to make a memory each day that will live on, and rock shows are so important. It's like a way for people to come and worship without having to talk about imaginary, without having to talk about anything too maybe offensive or tricky with beliefs. I think that you can feel the same kind of release and that same kind of whatever they call it in the other world, the spirit or what have you. I think that exists on such a crazy, intense level at a show. Everyone can maybe forget a little bit about who they are and who they think they are and how many people are trying to steal and sell their data and help Trump become the president.
Yeah.
And I think that we can focus a little bit more on the humanity of why we're at a rock show. And I think that learning and growing and maybe facing our fears is a big part of it. Good.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your time today. We're excited to see you tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
94.9 The Rock.